morning. Assalamu alaikum. I'm very much delighted to kick off the first panel of such an esteemed audience and a very renowned platform, that of Project Control Expo, which we are welcoming it in Dubai for the second year with a great success in the world, be it in UK and Brazil. So congratulations to the team and to the founder. And we are delighted to really align the company I'm leading to be one of the knowledge partner. So today I'm really welcoming and excited and delighted to be accompanied with such esteemed panelists next to me. Ahlan wa sahlan, welcome Mr. Maher Al Kaabi, who is one of the advisors of one of the also renowned group in the Middle East, 𝐓𝐫𝐶𝐽 group. 𝐓𝐫𝐏 coming from the States, an ex-colleague at PMI, leading also a technology companies serving multiple sectors, including retail and insurance. Niveen Jalal, also one of the leaders. Thanks for coming all the way from Egypt. She is heading the delivery for DXC technology, which is pioneering in the automotive insurance and many other sectors. And in the middle, ahla wa sahla, welcoming Muhammad Azwaq, who one of the senior director at KPMG, obviously supporting lots of digital transformation across sector. So the session today is titled AI-Powered Industries. Obviously, the hot topic is AI. How is it powering the industries? And how is it transforming our profession, which is the project management profession and project control, in order to maximize the creation of value and not only delivering outputs. However, we are all looking for lots of sustainable value given the investments in time, in effort, and in money. If you think about it, data, AI, technology are shaping our day-to-day lives. Like your car knows in advance your daily route, and it's really optimizing your traffic, and is even stopping before you even click on any finger. TikTok, with all its algorithm, predicts what you want to see next. And even more, the e-commerce platform like Amazon and Noon knows what's your flavor, what's your preference, and they even suggest something before you even look for. And Netflix gives you the next movie that you not even search for. And we accept them, we trust them, we don't think about it, right? We don't think about all of these. So we truly live in a digital transformation, the digital age, which is really impacting and transforming. Not only the way we live, the way we interact, the way we coexist, and the way we work, especially the way we take decisions. So we live in a truly interconnected world. We're connected between us, the cyber, physical. This digital revolution is blurring the line between physical, biological, and the digital. And we are truly connected so that we can amplify smartness about us. We're talking about not only the intelligence, people intelligence, but every single intelligence that is brought out through the devices, the sensor, the IoT, the big data, which is analyzing and giving us the insights on what we can prevent in terms of risks and how we can bring in more intelligence to every single aspect around us. So that said, so this transformation is not just happening, it's impacting every fabric of the business. So every business unit is being digitized. And with that, every single business unit is digitalized. We have systems around us. We have the datafication, integration, and smartification. So what does that mean? Not even that. Technology is not restricted or limited to big firms or to only big government entities. So it's accessible to everyone at an affordable price. And we all have been seeing recently the rise of AI transformation brought by DeepSeek, which has been a true revolution and makes it really easy, not only for individual, but for organization to embed AI engine and add more value. So this brings us to the big questions. In capital project, infrastructure, real estate, transportation, automotive, insurance, and many others, are we leveraging these data, these disruptive forces brought by the Industrial Revolution, or are we letting them disrupt us? And if you think more about it, those priorities have always been there. When we focus on scope, quality, risk, cost, safety, security, those are foundational priorities which have always been there for years, ever since the construction, which is the oldest in the world. Those have always been the focus. They haven't changed, but something has changed. We are more under pressure to accelerate the project delivery, to increase the profit, the project profit, especially in construction with low profit margin. We have 1 to 2% in construction. To predict and prevent risk before they happen, and to exceed, not only meet, we need to exceed the expectation of government, of clients, of every single institution which is investing in those technologies. So again, if you go back to the construction, it's one of the oldest. However, and we still use traditional methods, tools, and techniques in scheduling, in controlling, in planning from 1950. It's the slowest against others industries. It lags behind, and I'd like to hear later on from my panelists. And yet we still see transformative projects like the Museum of Dubai, all of the projects Dubai municipality have been leading, and all of the great authorities here. They are really transforming, and they are challenging what's possible and what's not possible. So what has changed is the how. How are we leveraging data, AI, and these disruptive forces to deliver with maximized value and benefits? Nobody wants underutilized power plants. We do not seek to have empty residential areas or traffic or roads that increase the traffic congestions. Some of the statistics shows that building roads, instead of reducing traffic, it has increased 30 to 50% the traffic congestions. So are we truly focusing on the long-term value, and are we measuring the benefits of the investments that we are making? And I think here is where the technology comes into play to increase the benefits and to be able to track, measure the benefits out of all of the investments that are happening. And I believe, and I'm sure that we're gonna explore this further today, businesses who embrace these data and technology will be able to shift and achieve a much more competitive age. So without any further ado, I'd like to explore all of these topics on how we can harness the power of AI, technology, data, so that we can maximize the demand of modern projects, of owners, of beneficiaries, and get us into better life, a much more connected world, which are giving us not only nice output and project and deliverable, but really value to the planet, to people, and to the 3 Ps, to the profit as well. So I welcome you again, and I'd like, with Maher next to me, setting the tone, why do you see AI and technology is no longer an option? Why we truly need to power and transform our industries, and where is the business case coming from?
Thank you, Grace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. But just a note, we were promised to get an hour and a half. I can only see 15 minutes over here. I know you're only taking 8 minutes, but where are the remaining 30 minutes? I'm not really going to disappear, by the way. But anyhow, let's move on. I think before the how, we need to understand is the why we want to do anything. And I can see that a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon of AI, wanted to just implement AI without knowing whether the use cases are there or not. And that's very important to figure out. If you look at the construction and real estate industry, it is the largest industry in the world. It's a $330 trillion, huge amount. The next is the bond market, which is $300 trillion, and the rest of the markets follows, right? The gold is only $16 trillion. So it's a very important industry. Unfortunately, it's one of the industries which has lagged behind. There was a study done by KPMG, and so your company, and another company as well, McKinsey. When they looked at the investment dollars being given to the innovation and AI and so forth, construction was at the bottom end in terms of investing in technologies. Of course, always leading was the financials, retail, other industries. So always education and construction were almost at the bottom. Now, in the last 5 years, education came up really quite a lot. but construction still lag behind a lot. Whether they need to use a technology, we'll discuss that. But I'd like to demystify the understanding of AI. First of all, AI predates to 1642, so it's nothing new. So I borrow a word from you, predicting. Predictive models has been there for a very, very long time. We used to develop predictive models back for the last 20, 30 years in one of the organizations I was leading it for a global market. So we used to actually develop those models for a very long time. But some industry did not make use of it. Now, do we really want to use technology when it comes to construction? Certainly if you know the data. If we know that 70% of human beings will live in cities, by 2050, you're talking about adding another 2.5 billion people. That means there's a huge amount of construction need to be carried out. If we continue with the conventional constructions, then we're going to lag behind quite a lot, apart from the impact of the ESG we will talk about later on. So it is imperative that we start using some technologies which are there. And like what? So what are the use cases? Look at the cycle of any construction will happen, whether it's an oil and gas industry, whether it's a commercial, whether it's residential, whether it's malls, stuff like that. Everything has the same point. The first point they start with is forming the compliance, which is your area, by the way, and the governance framework, the regulatory framework. You need to take a lot of approvals before you start any construction. And there's a lot of gaps are there all the time. No matter how good you are, you will always have a gap. Now, if you have a model where you have lots of data, past data, which tells you, and you clean the data, you segment the data, it tells you, look, these are the pain issues you've gone through in terms of being compliant, require the approval, and all these things, then the model can pop you up and then help you out as a human being, saying that these are the things, then the pitfalls you can avoid. So this is a quick example of that. If you move into the next thing, is the design phase. You know how much effort and time goes in design phase, and despite that, we go into a lot of variation, meaning once we agree on a certain way of building something and constructing something, you'll always see in the middle, even as early on, somebody come and says, look, this is not what I wanted something else, and I want to add another room, I want to add another floor, stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, these errors have been happening, and I've been in construction almost because we've been giving money out to people. I've not seen a single construction delivered almost on time or without a variation. It's not happened. And I'm talking about the 30 years of experience. Why? Because we are human. You know, ought to make mistakes, and we cannot fathom this amount of data in our heads and make those calculations. So when you use technology, the technology will aid you and help you to tell you what are the pitfalls you need to avoid. It will be quite a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. There are software available today as we speak, which helps you in doing project management. But these are only project management. They're not tools where you do predictive model. So to understand how this will work, you need to have first the data, which we spoke about. Then you have to have a circle on top of it called analytics. You analyze previous data. Then you have another circle on top of it called data science. And that data science, which is a multidisciplinary understanding of statistics, mathematics, and engineering, will actually help you and predict using the deep learning and the machine learning models. So this is where it comes into the play. Of course, once this construction start happening, there's a lot of data also getting generated. So from safety aspect that we need to do, is everything going online or not? How do we manage risk that we have of the project itself? I'm going quickly so I can give more chances to other panelists also to put into this. And once the projects are done and carried out, what about using the IoTs? The sensor will give you information, what things are working, not working fine, so you minimize the cost, you optimize it and so forth, so it will take you to a lot of efficiencies, manage the risks you have, and quite a gambit of a lot of issues.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maher. So, Mohammed, given your involvement with KPMG, with actually multiple projects which are aiming to embrace technology and AI in order to reduce inefficiencies and bring value to the project management and project control landscape, what are the insights you want to share with us?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I think before I answer on that question, something personally that 2 days ago when I was at home, came very late, and my daughter, I'm a father of 5 daughters.
MashaAllah.
Allah Yajzak khair. Normally we sit and drink tea, and then before she goes to sleep. Jumana, she's 12 years old. So this time I said, Jumana, I really have to prepare some panel where I'm participating. So she's normally very vocal about asking about my work. So she said, what is the panel about? Do you have to prepare any research, any speech? So I said, it's about project management and AI. Now, there's one thing that you should not underestimate, the children of this age and this era. She literally said to me, why do you have to prepare? Why don't you just go to ChatGPT and just ask to prepare your speech? So as a bridge, and I think we're gonna cover that today also, what it means of AI to the talent development and the era that we're living in and the workforce. I think AI in general, when you look at the project management, and I'm gonna speak from KPMG perspective, but in general consulting, and I've been also for a couple of years working at Amazon, which was mentioned as one of the e-commerce leading companies. I think there are three very vital things why we have to go that path. I think number one, and I'm just looking at the audience here, and I see some people also from our generation or maybe before. I think you remember when we would talk about PMO work or project management work, that a lot of people would see it as a lot of admin stuff that you had to do. When you would think about the risk register, you would have the most horrible nightmares at night because you were thinking about this large Excel sheet that you had to fill in with 20 tabs, like from left to right, depending on how you write, Arabic or English. So it was very hard for us at that time. When you talk about taking meeting minutes at several governance forums, when you talk about planning that someone wanted to have an update of the plan almost daily, and some people wanted maybe even to have it by the hour, right? So if this moves, what happens next? And you sat there, and poor consulting analyst, most of the time, you were updating everything. Now, I think from a mindset perspective, that's not different at what we are now. When Excel came in for people that were doing stuff manually, when tools came in where it was stated that you could do things quicker, faster, more accurate, that's the same age that we are in. And I was just talking with Ustad Maher just before this, and we were talking a little bit about tarikh and the importance of history. So my father basically read a lot of history books, and alhamdulillah, I've managed to get all his books after he passed away, Allah yarhamah. And one thing I used to ask him as a kid, and I was saying, why do you love reading the history? We need to look forward. And the key thing he said is you cannot understand the future if you don't understand the history. So just one point I wanted to make from a consulting or the industry best practice, I think the mindset of how to go faster, how to do things more efficient is the key enabler for thinking of how can we evolve technology. That's number one. I think number two is when you look at the different industries, and I'm just going to take e-commerce as a recent example, you see that a lot of compliance, which was just referred in a couple of minutes ago, has to happen. New regulations from governments are coming through. Most of them are for the safety of the citizens, of the compliance, to ensure that we are doing things the right way. They take a lot of time into how to analyze the different new requirements. So at Amazon, for example, the enormous company that you have, if some regulation comes through, how much time do you think it will take us to just analyze what the potential change is? And I'm saying potential change, because the change is not clear-cut from the beginning, which is for the project management professionals here, a very key standard when we talk about are the requirements known upfront, yes or no? Is there a lot of uncertainty? So there's a lot of uncertainty at the beginning and changing dynamics. So in Amazon, we used to work a lot and utilize basically AI-driven technology that help us basically clarify what the regulations potentially are and how we could implement them. So it would fasten our way of getting into the design phase and the build phase. The last point I wanted to make, and I know we're just introducing this topic now, the last point I wanted to make is when you take project management as a whole concept, whether you're talking traditional waterfall or the agile way of working, I think there is one key item that everyone is trying to seek. how can we make sure that we avoid surprises, which is risk management? Whether you're talking about big real estate projects, where you're talking about digital transformations, there's always one key thing, which is I want to avoid surprises last minute. Because anyone in this room, I think, who managed a project, if we would say we managed the project on time, within the quality, and under budget, I think we are going to make a very big joke. I think everyone knows the hassle of you have to change. So I think we are going to cover a couple of other points later on when we talk about the different challenges also that we see. These are the three key items I wanted to share so far.
Thank you so much. Very insightful, Muhammad. And Naveen, obviously you are leading a PMO with hundreds of project managers, and you have been really involved in lots of transformative projects across sectors. So again, we need to hear from you the role of AI in driving more efficiently and making your clients even more happy.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for joining this panel discussion. In DXC technology, we are really seeing a lot of growing demand from different industries into the world of AI. So I agree completely with my colleagues that it has been there for a while, and it's been named in different names. It could be analytics, machine learning, and data mining. But again, what has changed is the technology, which made it cost affordable. It's the complexity of the use cases that could be applied, made it quite available for different industries. So in DXC, we're seeing lots of demand from financial services, manufacturing, and automotive. Interestingly, governments are trying to use AI as well to provide their citizens with better experiences using AI. From the projects that we have in DXC, we have two main automotive companies. So we worked with BMW for their autonomous driving car. We used the DXC platform for robotics driving using cloud computing. And for Ferrari, the relation started with Ferrari and DXC in 2020, where we were managing their infrastructure systems. In 2024, the new model that Ferrari released, of course, it was done with DXC, where we partnered with them to provide, the driver. We need the driver to focus just on driving, right? Whatever AI techniques that were used in the background were used, of course, cloud computing. They were used, so depending upon his driving style, the road conditions, the weather, the number of passengers that he have, the dashboards that he sees in the cockpit are completely managed by real-time data that is extracted, with our dashboards. Also, customized user profiles are there in the model. You could see what else? Diagnostics for the vehicle. So the entire model is based on AI techniques, and hopefully, inshallah, construction as well, we see future collaboration with AI.
Thank you so much. Vangeli, we have been colleagues at PMI. You are the CTO, and your involvement now, again, is mostly on NGO. So I'd like to diversify a little bit the insights, since associations like Project Management Institute and even NGOs are directly linked to people's life, to community, thriving community, to feeling, happier, supportive, and much more secure. So I'd like to hear your perspective on how technology is making people's life better and even making much more impact even to the planet and to the environment. So let's hear from your different perspective.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I think the adoption of AI is getting democratized. It's not new. We know that a lot of organizations has been using AI models to predict, attract, and engage customers. but this is getting democratized. Given the tools that have evolved in today's world, adoption is becoming much more easier and easier. And it's real, right? I can bring up an example from 2024 where we have adopted AI for a larger data transformation project and did save 30%. So it's not theory anymore. It is being adopted by industries. I mean, the adoption depends on which industry you are in. Could be difficult because of the mindset, availability of data, and the tools that are available within the organization. Those are barriers to adoption, but it is evolving. So to me, adopting the AI can make how the customers interact with your product and services is going to be fundamentally different. If you look back and, when you look at number crunching a couple of years ago, where you have transaction data, you're talking about somebody coming to a shop and buying using a credit card. So you have very limited data, but today we are talking about the customer engagement data, the review comments, and the social data coming from social medias. There's so much data is out there, and AI models are making it much more easier to implement and adopt those data into the organization. So whether it is a community engaging with the content or you're sharing your best practices, simply asking a question to an AI model can connect the data points across the organization and bring you the answer.
Thanks a lot. Maher, I'll go back to you. I think you already raised that. And everybody, I think, in the room is struggling with bringing more efficiencies through AI. So actually, technology and AI are enabler and not an end or goal by themselves. Some numbers that PMI has studied show that 73% of the project fail to meet the budget baseline, and similar number also with the cost baseline. Some research has been done again against 40,000 PMPs show in construction that for every billion, 127 million at risk due to poor performance as well. And even some numbers shows that 98% of every project above 1 billion also are facing cost overrun, and similar number as well of projects, 95% of projects as per CII also fail to meet one or more objectives. So the construction is really struggling, and you mentioned that, and even over the past 2 decades, the improvement in productivity has been only 1%. So I think that's the main point, and that's the main elephant in the room. How can we, through technology, data, sensors, IoT, digital twin, all of the advancements, how can we drive more efficiencies? How can we prevent, how can we move from lagging indicators, KPIs only, which look at the rear mirror view, how can really go beyond the rear view mirror and be able to predict and prevent things and issues before they occur. So we need really practical insights on how can we drive more efficiency despite the fact that everybody is certified, everybody is, project managers, but what's happening, what's going on?
Sure. And this is despite having a project management office. With a show of hands, how many of you actually have a PMO office in your respective companies? That's hardly 10%, even less, okay? And this is what every company I've gone to, every organization, one of the first things I did, establishing a PMO. I sit on the council of the circular economy in the UAE. One of the first things I told the Minister of our Economy, His Excellency Abdullah bin Tog, we need to start a PMO, because otherwise we'll not be able to do it, because it's very, very important, because despite having a PMO, we still fail. So what makes it really tick for you to use these things? What is the first important thing? It's the soft skill of having leadership, the belief of changing that culture. You may have the best of technology you have. It's not going to work out if you don't believe in it. It's not going to take an inch mover, because we still have good softwares, by the way. Don't get me wrong. There are good project management software available for the respective industries you want. And one of the biggest software one of the finest software which were there, which made every stakeholder collaborate, external and internal, which Microsoft came up with it, and it's now not shelved. It's called MS Groove. hardly anybody used it at that point of time. It allowed people in a very secure manner. But what the problem, why a lot of these projects fails? Because you don't have the culture or mindset of making sure that you use the technology the right way. I may give you a Ferrari to drive it, but if you're not a good driver, you'll not be able to ride it up. So first of all, it's about leadership convictions that you would love to use this software because you have pain points. Second would be understanding the pain points. What are your pain points that you want to avoid? Third, what are the use cases you have that you will implement this technology in, and learn from the market. I mean, UAE did not come up, or Dubai did not come up overnight having all this technology. I always give these examples. We want to make our cities very smart and UAE become very digital because we have laid down our digital economy roadmap back in April 2022. The seed of that happened back in 1995 when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid said, look, we would like to go to e-government in 5 years' time. Of course, we did it earlier than that. And he brought all the people along to make sure there is alignment with people. So he brought his N-1, N-2, and N-3, and it was lively broadcasted from Jumeirah Hotel, by the way. And he said, this is going to be a tough journey because it's a change of mindset. Because people don't want to change. People want to stay the way they are. They're happy with their roadmap. They don't want to change. They don't want the walk to be shaken. And he said, whoever's with us in the journey, we welcome you. And whoever cannot, we respect you for your services, but resign. As simple as that possible. So you build the use cases, what do you have? You build the people, you build the use cases, and then you say, okay, what are the technology available today that I would love to use it so it can help me? So understanding the pain points are very, very important, which is the use case. And then you introduce this technology, then you can move forward. The other challenge is, apart from the soft skills, is talent development. We don't have the talent today. We have lack of talent because we don't skill our employees, we don't reskill them. And that's the constant things that we need to look at it. And that's something completely ignored by the leadership sometimes and ignored by the HR guys. So one of the things we used to do, and one of the things I did at the board of company, I sit on after working on the culture, setting up the PMO office, what do people lack today? You know, the classical thing we do, okay, you need to go for 40 hours in a year. Okay, what kind of training we need to go? We don't have a dialogue with our staff sitting one by one saying, what is missing in you? What is missing in the company that I require you to go and get trained and skilled and reskilled with? We don't do that. We just want to make sure it's a scorecard filling exercise. So we stopped that. We said, no, we're going to sit with everybody, understand what the company wants and what capabilities you have and what are the areas of improvement you require for you to help us for the next phase of it. So having that vision, having that soft skill being developed and the use cases you have, then you can talk about using technology. Without it, you cannot actually start the engine even.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for these insights. So Muhammad, obviously you consultants are brought in to solve those pain points. And even with the presence and the existence of PMOs and even VRO in Saudi Arabia. So how are you doing it through technology? What are the best practices in solving the pain point of project management?
I think technology issue. I think one of the key questions Ustad Maher just asked basically now was, how many of you do have a PMO office? I think in consulting, and I'm heading basically the practice of portfolio and program management, the first question when we are asked by our clients to come in is basically, how can I create this? Now it's called PMO office. You have new names like strategic office, executive office, but it's basically the air traffic control. So what we do within consulting, specifically at KPMG, is we first identify the need from the organization and the alignment among the organization. Why am I saying the alignment of organization? There's this perception, first of all, about PMO, about this air traffic control. We have clients where project managers, for example, don't want to have someone who's going to ask them, like, what's your budget? And can I track your budget? Is it correct or not? They just even don't allow anyone to get a question about that. So when we say align the organization first, we start with the leadership. Is the leadership aligned about the necessity of having this PMO office and the value of it? If you don't have that alignment, we're going to struggle. We as a consulting company are going to struggle, but the organization is going to struggle. So unless that value is seen from a leadership perspective and alignment, it won't work. So that's the first thing that we try to do, is to say, are you aware about the value added from having this air trafficking control function, whatever the name is given to it? The second item is specifically when we look at the maturity, right? So some of the organizations have a PMO office but are very immature. One of the key things, because that's the topic today, is about the usage of technology. What I find very interesting, and I'm doing a lot of assessments at organizations, when you come to the question of what technology tools are you using, you get either one of the two questions that are, for me, surprising. One is, we don't have any. The second is more surprising. We've got, and I'm not going to mention the names, but we've got tool X, tool Y, and I'm like, that's a big tool. Are you not using it? No, we're not using it. And I know that you have to spend a lot of money to get that module in. So back to the point of Maher, Jazallah Khair, is if they are not aware of, I have a tool and we have to utilize it, and if we are not utilizing it, what is the core reason behind it, we will fail. So that's one of the core things that we're trying also always to address. Then the third thing, when we look at it from a consulting perspective, I think we take a step back. We look at let's take the Middle East as an example. One key thing that we see there is that the whole Middle East is in a transformation. Like you've got Saudi Vision 2030, you've got Abu Dhabi has 2030 vision, Dubai has vision 2014, Oman, and 𝐏𝐈 𝐏𝐿𝐿. You can replicate that. Most of the boards, they want to see the programs and the strategic objectives being achieved. We used to have a large amount of effort that we would do when we would do these workshops together with the leadership and the projects, just to identify the value realization of any project. You remember these post-its on bigger walls, the walls were not big enough to have all those post-its and track it and then see like what's the value of each of the design that we are adding. And then around 4 o'clock, most of the stakeholders would go away, unless you're a consultant, then that's when your work starts.
So you're saying consultants work more?
I think so.
Okay.
So that's where we would start. At 4 o'clock, the lead would say, like, shall we order pizza? And then you know how late it was. Coming back to this point, you have a lot of tools these days that required, before having these tools, we required a lot of manual effort to just link together, like taking Agile, link everything from every user story to the themes, to the epics. Now you've got tools that are using that in a snip of a time, basically. So what we try to push also for is use the right technologies that help you for prioritization, that help you for tracking, etc. So that's the third point, that we are seeing a big force. The last one is, we would call it, and I think there's a topic that we will discuss about data sharing, etc. Like, you remember these old days where you had to fill in this tab in the Excel, and then you had to send it to the PMO office, right? And man, he had a big job to do, to consolidate everything. We're pushing to utilize platforms, whether it's a cloud that you can use as an option, we are pushing for these shared services that you could have, where if you are implementing a portfolio level or a project management level tool, you are also taking into account the accessibility of people from everywhere. I think that last point is what we see in KPMG, rather than the board saying, I want to have this report by end of the day. He's just gonna log in and say, let me see how this project is running actually now, and have real-time access to that data. I think those are the key ones, if we look from a consulting perspective across the industry, that are really coming out, is the usage of tools, making sure that you take into consideration the change management aspect of it, which is a big one. If I may, one last point. I joined a training, I think 2 weeks ago. It was for some of the senior leaders, and the title was, Why Should I Be Led by You? It was already a confronting title. I think we should not underestimate the fact that when we talk about the workforce coming up now, and specifically into PMO project managers, The people that we are looking for to have the right skills need or are required to be managed also in a different way. And I'll just share one thing on that one. When 20 years ago, I think when we would ask someone to work, basically, and he would have an issue, a mental issue, he would never state that. He would never share that. Today, you will have people going to the project manager and saying, I have a mental issue now, I have to stop. The whole, this barrier is removing. And I think that topic, maybe inshallah we can discuss it more in depth in another conference, is really a key success factor. When we build PMO teams, we ensure how you can influence the right people. You require a lot of new skill sets of how to lead as a project manager, regardless of any tool you're going to use in that.
Thank you so much, Salim Tamak. Thank you so much. Niveen, you're sitting in the driving seat, so you are leading PMO delivery, and you're dealing with your own pain point on every day on how to put in place a framework of continuous improvement for your own people, and you have a client there. So we really want to hear how are you improving the project efficiency at both sides, your PMOs and the client.
Sure. First of all, some of the employees, they see, AI as a threat that people will be displaced out of their jobs, which is completely untrue. You just need, first of all, it helps you do a better job. It helps you achieve your projects better, on time, better cost, etc. So you need to be aware of this personal factor. You need to reskill the workforce to really make them better use AI capabilities in their projects. Another challenge that we also face because of AI requires a lot of data. So it's the data availability with some of the clients. So we depend upon synthesizing data. There are some data augmentation techniques that we use because to be able to make a decision, you need lots of data available. So this is what we count, on our projects. Another challenge is the methodology that is being applied to the projects. Definitely, the type of AI projects requires agile methodology. So you need to staff to educate your people on agile methodologies. You need to educate clients as well on this heavy involvement with the project. The type of contracts that we have, they need to somehow be changed from fixed cost contracts to value-based contracts. Another challenge is lots of governments, agencies, and so on. There are so many regulatory requirements because of AI to be used. So again, coping with these is another challenge that we're trying to overcome as well. So it's very interesting, challenging, but we're trying to get there or get over these challenges.
Yes, thanks a lot, Niveen. So Vangelia, I know you are a specialist with data, and if you have no data availability, none of what we're speaking about could be happen. So how data strategies, data availability, and big data is really helping us take the project management to the next landscape?
Sure. So I think a lot of us have already covered about the various challenges, including culture, people not having a PMO, not adapting a nimble process and things like that. But I wanted to step back and talk about two key challenges that emerged from various digital transformation projects that I have led, also the startups that I was a co-founder. Two major things again and again I came across. One is the decision velocity, which is nothing but as an organization being able to make a quick decision. Number of times you go back and forth because of lack of alignment in terms of what the business outcome is expected or what the value is expected, and lack of alignment among functional units and the leadership. The time you go back and forth leads to making a slow decision, which eventually impacts the project constraints, your time and cost. The fundamental reason for that is the lack of data, because either the outcome, the business outcome, is not clearly understood, or they don't have, the leadership doesn't have enough data to make a right decision at the right time. The second challenge, and I'll come to the solution part of it, the second challenge or theme that emerged every time is organization's ability to pivot quickly, because when you start the project, you will have a lot of hypotheses and assumptions, and you plan things based on what you know at that point in time. But as you move through the project, you learn a lot, you will collect more data, and you want to be able to pivot. But as the project gets larger and complex, it becomes more and more complex to pivot. Especially when you have a data that invalidates your assumption, invalidates your hypothesis, how quickly PMO can give direction, how quickly they can democratize how teams can make a decision to move forward. These two are pretty much in every project that I got involved been a challenge. I think today these challenges can be very quickly, easily resolved given the tools that are evolving. The two things that I would call it out, data fabric is one of the tools which has been used to integrate data regardless of where it is coming from. So it is obvious in today's world that the variety of the data coming from various systems, whether it is coming from an IoT or from your supply chain systems or your ERP systems, are going to be different. It's completely different. The speed at which, the velocity of the data, right, this changes, it's also completely different. So we cannot rely on the volume, obviously, is huge. So we cannot just rely on traditional technologies to consolidate, standardize, move them to a data warehouse, if you will, and then build on digital intelligence, then make a decision, right? Those are not going to help. So these tools like Data Fabric in combination of AI, you can start asking a natural language-based questions about your project progress, about risk. You could use this data to predict the implications of risk if it is not addressed. So these tools can easily help. And today, in fact, you can in real time bring this data together and make a right decision at the right time so the teams can move on.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So going back to the main, focus of our session is to how are we improving the value creation through technology and data. So we all, have been in the profession, and we believe like the static or traditional project management, and even with a very nice WBS is not enough, and we're not going to move into much more flexible or agile-led project and program management. So with the availability of data, so how are we able to iteratively manage the value creation? So we're moving from one plan at the beginning, one planning team, into getting more diverse team. So I'd like to hear more insights on how are we leading the planning and delivery through integrating more data at the very beginning and integrating the data strategy, so people who do not view data will cause rework. So that's why we bring in even the vendor. Burj Khalifa has involved suppliers at the very early beginning so that we can reduce the cycle review time. So we really live in a luxury world with platforms provided by Oracle and many other technology software where we can get an integrated project delivery, planning. So I'd like to hear from you on those innovations when it comes to integrating data, integrating all of the stakeholders together since design, planning, and execution towards much more iterative but meaningful value creation throughout the life cycle.
As stakeholders increases, the challenges increases becomes paramount, so it's very difficult to manage, to be honest with you. And before that, I'll tell you, the PMO job is the most thankless job in any organization. And if anything goes wrong, the first people to be blamed is PMO. If things goes well, nobody says anything to the PMO. Oh, that team did it. PMO has nothing. That's their job. We need to understand that first. And it's going to actually link to that question. Second, if PMO does not have authority, which is embedded from the authority of the CEO, it's not going to work. They have to have the authority, go and ask people, why are you doing this, why are you not doing that? And because they're going to attract a lot of enemies. Nobody would like to challenge the status quo on you saying it, why you're over budget, why you're not delivering this on time. Okay, why? Because they sit on seeing things. So we have to make sure there is an alignment done by organization that they have the authority of the CEO, of course in a very subtle way to go and speak to others, but usually they attract a lot of enemies, and I've seen that. For the last 20 years, we started the first PMO in my last organization, and every organization, first thing is PMO. We're wasting a lot of money. Why are we wasting a lot of money? Because we have a lot of data telling us that the project's not getting delivered on time. So if we have data, if we don't clean the data, then we will not be able to use it. That was one of the biggest challenges we have in one of the organizations we were at, is how do we manage our project? Every single project the organization delivered, before my time I should say, they never delivered it on time because they've not utilized the data. What are the risks that they'd like to address before embarking on our project? So further, the first thing we did is like, okay, let's establish a PMO and make them understand what's the importance of PMO, what would be the stakeholder's job, and how everybody gonna work on it. Trust me, it was not an easy journey. Everybody hated us for starting like that because you're trying to expose your books saying it, now I'm going to be exposing to you how am I working? Are you going to teach me? No, but we would like to manage the project. This is how it's very important. So getting that information and making sure you put it in a better use and share it with everybody is very important. So one of the things we did, we said, look, we're going to have a project board for every single project. And the champion of the project board will be the most senior person in that department. So he will make sure he run it. And every project board will have a project manager. And there will be a backup team for everybody else. It is all relying on making sure that there's alignment done correctly, and you use your previous mishaps or pitfalls of not getting and delivering the project on time. And then you'll meet on every week to make sure the project board will meet every week to go through all the projects. The project manager will come and present that. This is all part of the data, by the way, development. They'll come and present what is the status of every single project with a traffic light, red, green, amber. And if the project is not on time, because now we know things are not going well, or it's at a critical path, there'll be a further detailed discussion. But the meeting is not only at the weekly basis. The project working group should meet on daily basis to see what is the project telling us, where are they, because they're tracking the project. They have the system to tell them this. So you feed that information into the system, and the system tells you quite a lot of things. So it's not only the soft data now, but it's also you as human being sitting and analyzing, and the dashboard which is there need to be analyzed. So it's a combination of many things and not only the data alone.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Naveen, I have to move to you and say, do people really hate PMOs? And if you're really bringing
ask the PMOs over here.
data,
How many of you think that you're doing a thankless job?
So maybe Hibak also can share whether I think everybody likes you also.
Well, I started it, to be honest with you.
So Naveen, what's your feedback on
honestly, it depends upon the leadership. So you don't make PMO as a police, all right? They're there to support you and to help you. If you sell it to the project teams this way, then you will get away with it. They will start telling you the truth. You will dig more data and you will be on the right track. So it's all about leadership. When you know as a leader, you know that there is delay or cost run, how do you react, right? How do you say, PMO told me that it will be a total wreck, right? So this is how we manage. PMOs loved in our organization because of, again, the style of the leadership and the behavior that we do and we encourage in the organization.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So back to the consulting world, I think you guys believe in the integration of frameworks. So there is no one single solution which can really move the crews or really change the landscape. So I think the integration of a solid framework which brings people, data, technology, governance, and processes, unless we do this integration, we do not really achieve business goals and long-term impact. So let us know more, Mohammed, from your engagement on how this integration is happening. We're moving into an era where there is no one single focus, no PMO, no people, not even one data. I think unless we integrate everything together and without the skills, there is no one single project manager. You need to be strategic leaders. You need to be benefit owner, more of a project manager. So everything is really getting together. I want to really hit on that topic before giving, I can take questions. So and pictures. So anytime you have any question, feel free to share with them. Please, the floor is yours now. Just help me.
It's a good and very challenging question in the sense of how do you integrate.
Yeah.
I think I would be lying if I would say we have integrated frameworks. I think the maximum I could say is we're trying to get the best integrated frameworks together. I think I can share three foundational questions that we've asked ourselves. And I think the cultural behavior is also important in that one. Number one, the era of the tool is the solution has gone. Like, we have made an enormous advancement and evolvement from a technology perspective. We're still making that development. But I think the people-centric, when you talk about ESG, for example, and the social impact that is coming through, the social impact and the behavioral impact also that we have on people is actually at a very high point compared to the last years. So when you talk about making sure that people gets a proper component in our framework, I think it's easier to sell now than a couple of years ago. So that's just from where we are today. People are really central today. That's one. I think number two is when we talk about the integrated framework, and I think we've touched on it today a couple of times, is when you are coming with a solution, you're coming with, you know, when you talk about processes, when you talk about tools, technology, and the people, everyone is making you or forcing you to come up with these three components. How you are trying to balance between those, I have to be honest, the data is a very big driver these days. We just touched based on, you know, how people feel about PMO. I'll give you one example. We used, and maybe some of you are still struggling with that, 80% of the time the PMOs are spending for the PMO processes is just to get the data on time. And their biggest nightmare is that the board meeting or the governance meeting would start and that they are late. صح ولا لا? That's their biggest focus. Are you talking about data accuracy? Oh no. Like, you're just making sure that it's just, 5 minutes before the meeting starts, and then this, I say one, but we know that it are multiple. This one last project manager sent you the last email, say, here you go. This is my status. That era is also going away because with the technology, we are now able to showcase as the PMO and say, look, this is the deadline. You just have to submit it. Who has submitted it? And you will track it. That's one key example I wanted to give. The second key example about people in this case, to make sure that we have a total package, is you make them as owners. So one of the key things that PMO has seen, and we have seen many models where you are asked, like, are you a directive PMO function? Are you more a supportive PMO function? Is to drive ownership for each one of the PMs in this case. What does that mean? We used to implement, and I did this at a couple of clients, we used to implement as part of the performance indicators and KPIs, how well were they structuring their project management approach? So how many times were you on time with submitting whatever you had to submit? How many times were you accurate with the data? And this was taken into their overall performance instead of just, did you deliver the work, yes or no? This was very helpful when you talk about the PMO as an organization and the evolvement of that. I think the last bit, when we talk about the integrated framework that we are seeing also across consulting but across industry, is the amount of, let me call it replacement, or the amount of tools or AI agents that are able to pick up the work from that PMO. So just imagine this situation. For me, it was a dream. Like, how could it be that I would just literally get the data now and I'll have time to analyze it and go to the board meeting and say, this is what you should care about. This is the problematic areas. Now, I can guarantee you, we live now in an era where even the analytics are done by the technology. So I think that in a nutshell of when we talk about bringing in the integrated framework of people, technology, and the requirements that we have to dig in when we talk about the requirements for data is very vital. I think one last point I forgot. When we talk about the different project management progress and KPIs, I think one of the key things that is taking place now is ESG. I think on that area, we're still having problems, challenges to basically include that as part of the PMO reporting capabilities. Coming back to the changing requirements and regulation templates, I think, Wallahu A'lam, when that stabilizes, the PMO function will become really the full set of air traffic control that is able even to go to report on the ESG side.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'd like to open the floor if you would like to ask my esteemed panelists any or if you want to share any reflections of today. So we have expert, we have Hiba, and I think many people in the field. So we have lots of engaging experts with us who would like to reflect or ask or share their thoughts.
Assalamu alaikum. I will not ask questions because they already answered all the questions, but I would like just to reflect on what was said about the PMO because I've lived it for many years. And if you allow me to share a few points here, I believe the strength of the PMO, as Maher mentioned, it comes from the leader of the organization. If the leader really wants to know the truth and be not a reactive but proactive approach to resolve project challenges, then you will see a strong PMO. I came to a PMO where everybody used to like the PMO, and when I came, I flipped the coin where people started to hate the PMO because nobody was challenging them. The figures are taken to the board or to the meetings as is. The numbers are not challenged. So it was a servant PMO, I would say, to make things documented in a proper way. But when we look at the PMO role, one of the main roles is to control the project and ensure the portfolio going to the right direction. I give it an example of, if we go to any airport, the moment we arrive, there is passport control. Can you imagine there is any airport without having a passport control? It's going to be chaotic, right? Anybody can enter the country without any control. However, the things have evolved and there are technology. Residents of that nation can go easily. So those are trusted people. They have a faster way to move. Those who are unknown, they will go through an introduction or question or things to verify they are no risk to cross the border. This is how we are as PMOs. We have that risk sense and we have benefit realization. If it's beneficial, we'll make it easier. If there is risk, we have to investigate further.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this, Engineer Isa, who has also been involved in Ittihad Rail and even in Expo. I remember how you did between the security check, the vaccine at the time. So thank you so much for sharing. I have Hiba, who is leading PMO, has been awarded the PMO of Dubai Municipality by PMI as well. So,
Assalamu alaikum. This is Ejaz. I want to share one example regarding the use of AI in project management. Recently, I worked for a district cooling project in using Primavera planning, and recently I was developing a baseline schedule for my project. So my project director, he want to advise me the start and finish dates in the Primavera. So what I did was I actualized the dates in 1 hour the time he gave me. So I actualized all the dates in the Primavera schedule. But as it should be a planned dates, not actual dates as per the baseline. So the next morning I had to submit a baseline schedule to the client for approval. So I have only one night time, and I was thinking how I can remove all the actuals for the 1000 activities and set it as a planned date by using the proper logic relationship, predecessor, successor, and the lag. So I was thinking if I remove the complete one by one activity for 1000 activities, it will take complete night, and morning I have to submit the schedule to the client. So really I was in a big trouble. So I thought let's try ChatGPT AI. So I went and make a prompt. I have a schedule, I actualize all the dates, and I want to make it as a planned dates. So please advise me. So immediately in 1 second I got reply from ChatGPT. Just go to global change in Primavera, then make actual start date blank, actual finish date blank, then you will get what you want. So I copied my XCR file and I tried. Maybe I have only one XCR file, maybe I will damage it. So I copied and I tried. In 1 second, I was able to get removed all the actual dates. If manually, if I did that exercise, it would have taken complete night time. And I don't have time to make the planned dates also. So in 1 second, I was able to solve it. And the next morning, I submitted my schedule. Alhamdulillah, it got approved. And I am today standing here. I would not have been attending this event today if I had not completed this exercise.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. That's a story for Muhammad daughter on how AI is powering the project management and risk management activities.
And one more thing I want to share. Really, I completely agree with Mr. Maher regarding the importance of PMO, because I am the only one planning engineer. So I have to daily meet with the construction engineers and to get the updates. But most of them, they think this is a waste of time and they don't agree with me, or I am creating more enemies than friends to get the updates, and they don't want to share the updates. They don't want to get when I make delay analysis, they think in a different way. So if I have a PMO office in my company, really it will help me, and I can, because most of the engineers, construction engineers, they are not aware of the project management standards. Alhamdulillah, I am a PMP certified, PMISP certified. I have a lot of certification. So I know so many things. But as per the construction engineers, they know only about the construction. They don't understand the project's control, what is the plan and what is the actual, and about how it will impact as a cost impact and the different things contractually, what are the obligations. So but they think in a different way. So PMO really it will be very helpful. The daily what I face difficulties, really if we have a PMO, it will be very good to divide the work and explain to the management what are the plan and actual and denial analysis. And even during the claims, really we will be in a very strong state to defend our company to the client if we go to arbitration or litigation. Really, so I completely agreed.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Shukran. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving me opportunity.
Thanks.
Hello.
Thank you so much. Let's hear from Ms. Hiba in the first row, please.
Hello.
First row, لو سمحت. بس لأنه we have been كنا نطرناها كثير وتلفزنا.
I think the gentleman.
Okay, thank you, Grace, for the introduction. My name is Hiba Shehi, head of PMO in Dubai Municipality. I agree with all of you when we're talking about the PMO and how to shift the perception of PMO. I just want to say that PMOs are not managing projects. They are managing relationships. So that's very important for us to focus on. The human aspect should not be missed out of the equation. I agree that AI and technology is a really successful factor. Like one of the reasons why Dubai Municipality's PMO has won in 2021 the best PMO in the world is that we used a system very quickly and we adapted very quickly. We were able to get all of these dashboards and reports. But also at the same time, we had a capable team who were working like mediators, not as police. They were mediators, they were relationship managers more than just a PMO admin. So
Wonderful.
just to comment.
Yeah, thank you so much. So human capital at the heart of all of these changes. Thank you for your insight. I think, yes, let's see if Muhammad.
Hello everyone, thank you for sharing your insights. With the importance of the PMO you mentioned, statistically it shows that the lifespan of PMO 3 years. how to make, in your view, how to make the PMO within organizations endure for longer than this?
Yeah, next question. Who would like to jump in? Consultants?
You mean the individual themselves who are managing the PMO or the PMO function itself?
Yes, the PMO itself.
The PMO itself,
The PMO itself as an entity within organization, statistically, the average lifespan for it is 3 years. Within different industries. So it may vary depending on the organization itself, but statistically, the lifespan is 3 years. Whether the function of the PMO is changed or the PMO itself is dissolved into different entities. So with the importance of PMO that is evident for everyone and everyone can see, how can we make the PMO endure or last for a longer period within the organization? Thank you.
I think, if I may allow me, it starts from the alignment from the top as well. Whether we really require it or not, if we get the why cleared of anything we do in our life, it makes it very easier. Because in every organization, whenever we established PMO, and it's been like now 20 years, I believe, all those organizations on average we still have the PMOs because they felt the value of it. Everything you do in life, if there's no value to it, then you will not be able to reap the fruit of it. So if it was not established well, there was no alignment to it, there was no proper, I would say, roadmap to that thing, you did not reap any fruit, certainly people will let the PMO go. But I've not heard the statistic that the average lifetime of a PMO function is 3 years. I actually heard that it's much, much longer. Whoever started it on the right footing, they actually have it and they saw the benefit of it. I actually agree with Hiba what she said. Any technology you do today, and I always cover that in my talks, human element gonna be always there in the center of getting things done. So building those relationships, one of the things we did, and I mentioned that in my talk, we made the project managers had champions of the project, and the project champions were the most senior people in the organizations who owned the process themselves. So it becomes a relatively better process to manage a PMO. So when they see the value of it, now they will say, I want the PMO to be there because at least my team knows what's doing. So creating that alignment, it's very important for things to go for a longer period. So seeing is believing.
Thanks a lot. Another thought from
one thought I'm trying to implement within the team is to become a project manager. You have to be starting with a PMO position. They would understand, first of all, it provides the career progression for the PMO, so they, they have at least something to look for. The second thing is they would understand the pain they had when they had to collect the data, do the analysis, and so on. So their behavior, completely as project manager, it's completely changed. They've been there into this before. So maybe this is something that might be working in your case. Right?
Thanks a lot. Any other final thought? We make it short.
Yeah.
Just time over here.
Yeah, time is up. We're looking at it the whole time. I think just two thoughts. Let me just play the advocate also for the PM a little bit. I think a couple of reasons, right? Like why we see PMO struggle to get the right input or the behavior from that side. I think one key thing is a very valid reason. The PM most of the time wants to fix things, right? Wants to focus on the project, on the build itself. So if he doesn't understand the value that he's giving for working with the PMO, giving these inputs, it's going to be a very hard fight that he's going to have. However, one key is I think a success factor in that one, which is build upon his time. How can technology help him basically minimize his effort to do this kind of stuff? And we have seen that when we implemented tools that would rapidly go through that process versus the manual effort, the project manager himself is very much happy with that. I think the second point I would like also to turn it around is to say, if someone started as a PMO and then goes into a project manager, we have also in the more senior PMO offices, we have previous PMs. So the previous PMs talk the same language, right? I used to play football. Well, a lot of my family is a professional football player. And we keep one thing to hear every time. When I have a coach in front of me that tells me to do X or Y, and he used to be a football player himself, there's this respect that is given extra. So I think if you go there and you say, as Al-Ukht Al-Fadila said, like building these relationships and based also on previous experience and say, I know as you as a PM, I used to be a PM, it's going to be a big added value also on that sake, and saying, you know, there you have this PMO guy that has never managed any project and he's going to tell me how to manage my project. So I think being aware of that situation and building those relationships and having that background and credit is going to be a very big booster also for a longer lifetime also for PMOs in the upcoming time, inshallah.
Alf shukr. I think the discussion is so rich, I can't but thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for all the richest knowledge that you have shared with everybody, being so generous, so engaging. I'd like to thank my amazing audience for your engagement, your insights. Don't stop it here. Please keep the engagement, keep the conversation going on, and let's work together, data scientists, associations, and industry leaders and project managers to shape the industry and make the integration happen smoothly, and let us focus on delivering value while keeping human and planet at the heart of everything we do. Thank you so much for your attention and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you, my panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.